graders, happy Friday. This is part 3 of our comparing and ordering unit fractions lesson. So we are continuing to use our RDW redraw right strategy as we try and solve some story problems and order some fractions. So just as a quick reminder, you guys are becoming experts at this, but RDW just means that we are going to read the problem, we're going to draw a picture, and then lastly, we're going to write our equation and our answer. So we'll hop right to our story problem for today. This one is about a baker who is making a cake for some families. We are going to go ahead and draw some pictures and then order some fractions with number lines. So I'll read it, and I want you guys to be thinking to yourself about which numbers are going to be important to our problem. So this says, a baker made 3 cakes for 3 different families. There are 4 people in Miss James's family, 6 people in Miss Garcia's family, and 8 people in Mr. Christopher's family. It says to draw each family's cake and order the fraction of cake that one person from each family eats from least to greatest on a number line. So first, we are going to circle those important numbers. So I'm going to grab a marker. Now the baker making 3 cakes for 3 different families, that's just some background information, so I'm not going to circle those 2 numbers. But what is important is that it tells us how many people are in each family, which tells us how we are going to divide our cake up. So there are 4 people in the James family, 6 in the Garcia family, and 8 in the Christopher's family. So that's going to tell us how we're going to slice our cake up. After it gave us that information, it said that we are going to draw each family's cake. So that's our first instruction. And then it says we're going to order the fraction of cake from least to greatest on a number line. So that's what we're going to do with this problem for today. So just like it said, we are going to start the drawing step of this. So this says to draw each family's cake and then answer 2 questions at the bottom, which is to say which family had the biggest pieces of cake and which family had the smallest. So first, we're just going to draw a picture to show how we would divide up Mrs. James's family's cake. So if we flip back to our problem, it said that there are 4 people in her family. So we need to divide her cake into 4 different pieces. Now this can get tricky sometimes as you get bigger numbers, but when there's an even number, I always like to split the picture in half first. So there's 2 pieces, and I know that if I need 4 pieces total, there's going to be 2 pieces on each half. So then I know I'm just going to split it in half again. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces for that family. Now, later we're going to be thinking about how much cake one person could eat. So if one person was going to eat 1 piece of her cake, they would be eating 1/4 of a cake, which is kind of a lot, but if you're a cake lover, it's great. So this is 1/4 of the whole cake. So that's Mrs. James's family. Next, we're going to do Mrs. Garcia's family. And if you remember, she had 6 people in her family, so we need to divide her cake into 6 pieces so that everyone can have 1 piece. So again, since it's an even number, I like to split it in half. And since I need 6, I know that I'm going to need 3 pieces on one side and 3 pieces on the other. So I'm going to split each side into 3. Something like that. Not the best I've ever done, but this is what her cake would look like. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces, and one person would eat 1/6 of the whole cake. Okay? And then lastly, we have Mr. Christopher's family, and we'll flip back. He had 8 people in his family, so we need to divide his cake into 8 pieces. So again, I'm going to split in half. I'm going to think that there's going to be 4 on this half and 4 on this half to give us a total of 8. So I need to split each one into 4. Okay, so now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces, and one person would eat 1/8 of the cake. Okay, so that's what their cakes would look like. Now the 2 questions at the bottom say the blank family had the biggest pieces of cake. So if we look at our picture, I want you guys to be thinking about which one looks like the biggest if they just had 1 piece. And it looks like Miss James's family has the biggest pieces of cake. So the James family has the biggest pieces, and that's just because they have less people, so they don't have to share quite as much. And then the blank family had the smallest pieces of cake. So if we look, this one's biggest, this one's a little smaller. It looks like Mr. Christopher's is the smallest. Since they had 8 people, they had to share more. So the Christopher family had the smallest pieces of cake. All right, so that's our drawing step. We're done with that one, so we're moving on. Now for our right section of our RGW, we're going to be writing the order of fractions that one person ate from least to greatest. And before we do that, we want to do a little bit of practice with a number line. So for Mrs. James' family, if we look back at our picture, we'll remember that one person would have eaten 1/4 of a cake, so we want to represent 1/4 on her number line. So when we make a number line, the first thing we want to do is we want to label our endpoints. So I'm going to go ahead and label, I'm going to label 0 on this side and 1 on this side since it's under a hole. And to make force, similar to how I did in my picture, I like to, when it's an even number, I like to divide it in half. And then I know that there's going to be 2 parts on this side and 2 parts on this side. So all I need to do is put one line in the middle as close as I can get, and then I can start labeling. So I have 0, I'm going to count it by fourths. 0, and then 1/4, and then 2/4, which is the same as half if you want to think about it like that. And then I have 3/4, and then 4/4 or 1. Those are the same. Okay, so that's how her number line would look. And I want to go ahead and label the 1/4 that one person from her family would eat. And the 1/4 would go right here on our number line. Okay, so I'm going to do the same for Miss Garcia's family. If you have a pencil and paper, I would love for you to draw this one with me, if you can. But Miss Garcia's family, if we flip back to her picture, one person ate this 1/6 of a cake, so we need to represent 1/6 on her number line. So just like we did with Mrs. James, I'm going to label our 0 and our 1 to label our endpoints. I'm going to split it in half since it's an even number. And then since she needs 6 pieces, I know that there needs to be 3 pieces on this side and 3 pieces on this side. So I'll go ahead and split those. And then I'll see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces. And then I can label. So I just need to count up. So 0, and then I have 1/6, 2/6, 3/6, or 1/2, 4/6, 5/6, and then 6/6 or 1. Okay, so that's what Mrs. Garcia's number line would look like. And then I'm going to go ahead and label what one person would eat. And we already found out that it would be 1/6 of a cake. So I've labeled that fraction on her number line. And then all we have left is Mr. Christopher's family. So if we flip back to his picture for the last time, you'll see that one person would eat 1/8 of a cake. So we need to make his number line have 8 different sections. But first, of course, we're going to label our endpoints from 0 to 1. Since it's an even number, I like to split it in half. And since there's 8, I know there's going to be 4 pieces in the first half and 4 pieces in the last half. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, and then I just need to count up. So I have 0, and then I have 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, and then 8/8 or 1. Okay, and remember, one person would have eaten that 1 piece or 1/8 of a cake, so I'll label that right here. And those are our 3 number lines. All we have left to do is we are going to order the fractions based on these number lines from least to greatest. So if you look, I want you guys to see which family had the smallest pieces. And it looks like Mr. Christopher's family, his 1/8 is the closest to 0 compared to the other 2 number lines. So their family had the least. And then we have, I like to do the greatest next just because it's a little easier to see. So it looks like Mrs. James's family had the point that's farthest from 0, so they had the biggest pieces, and that was 1/4. And then the one in the middle, Miss Garcia's family, was 1/6. Okay, so there are our 3 fractions from least to greatest. Okay, we're going to be practicing using number lines to do problems like this, continuing into next week. But before we get to that, I want you guys to hop on Canvas. You're going to have one exit ticket to do, and once you're done with that, you're all good for this week. Have a great weekend, guys.